game of basketball has taken us places we can never imagine. From winning 4 EuroLeague titles,
playing 6 years in 5 countries, and making connections with people from all around the world.
We have stories that can last a lifetime.
I like it.
Now it's time to tell yours.
When I met Michael Jordan for the first time, and still to this day, if I see him, he's glowing.
It just came down to, like I said, looking myself in the mirror like, brother, do you want to play ball or not?
I've never been in an environment like EuroLeague.
Because, living over here in Europe, bro, we kings over this jump, bro.
All right.
Denver Nuggets.
Appreciate y'all having us on here.
Yes, sir. Big time. This is really dope.
This is Hoop Tales.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Hoop Tales Podcast. Today we have the TBT Tournament Director, Dan Friel. Dan, what's going on, man?
I'm not much, Mike. Just like everybody else, we're enjoying the quarantine here in the bubble,
Sure.
and trying to keep ourselves as healthy and safe as possible.
Definitely. I know you're busy, so thank you for taking the time out to do this short interview with us. First off, for people that don't know, can you kind of go back a little bit and tell people the origin of TBT and how this event all started?
Yeah, so basically it's a story of two buddies that were sports fans that wanted to see something different. That's kind of what it came down to. John Mugar and I, probably 10 years ago now, maybe a little more, we started emailing one day about if you were going to start something from scratch, how would you do it? Sort of like not even thinking it was a business idea. What could you possibly do with this? And so we started emailing back and forth, and over the period of probably a year and a half to 2 years, kind of settled on this idea of a single elimination tournament for a winner takes all prize. Mm-hmm. So the original concept was to do a winner takes all game for $50 million.
Wow.
And so what would you do? What would you do, and who would play if you did that? And so, we're not obviously there yet, but when we do get there, then you'll know that TBT kind of has reached its maturity and has gotten to where we wanted it to be. But honestly, like, it just kind of started as this idea, and then to, I think, John's credit, and he deserves such almost an unlimited amount of credit for this event being where it is right now for a variety of reasons. But he really saw a business opportunity to do this, and I think as we started talking about it, and we realized, what we like to watch as sports fans, it's always the Game 7. It's always the March Madness. It's the game that really, when it's over, there's a winner and there's a loser.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think that's what makes TBT so compelling to me, just as a fan, is that, it breaks my heart when I see a team lose. And it kills me, especially in that championship game, like when you're that close, and inevitably our championship games have been such tight games every year that we've had them, that you can almost feel the team kind of collapsing in disappointment when they lose. And that's always my job, is to go in that locker room and try to, in some way, express our thanks and console the team that has lost. And, every year it gets more difficult to do because of I think the prominence that the event has gained over the years.
Yeah, we were unfortunately on that side last year, losing in the Final Four, but in turn, it kind of motivated us to kind of want to get back, and then wanted us to keep reaching for that $2 million prize, or in this case, that $1 million prize. So like you said, I think that for me, and I think all of us, that was the greatest allure of the tournament, just the single game elimination situation. That's what we all love about it.
Yeah, you can't beat it. You can't beat it.
Yeah. Talk about what went into this year. I know it's been a crazy year with this whole COVID situation, but we're the first basketball back. How close was TBT to not even happening, and what went into making it happen here in Columbus?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think there was ever really a time when we thought that we weren't going to be playing basketball. We are the sort of people that love to just learn about things and figure things out, and kind of manage the logistics of whatever operation it is that we're involved with as a whole organization. And so from our perspective, it wasn't ever really a matter of not playing basketball. It was, what do we have to do in order to make that work? What do we have to do in order to make it happen? And so what we started kind of doing as early as late January was contemplating, well, how would this work? What would you do if there was an outbreak? How would you manage that? And then from there, it really became a matter of kind of putting those general thoughts that you have about creating a quarantine, testing everybody and everything like that into action. The big variables for us were whether or not we're going to be able to get as many tests as we need. We were able to do that. Could we find a city that would permit us to do what we need to do? And we found that. And so it really was a matter of kind of checking off all those boxes and making sure that everything is taken care of,
Definitely, man. You guys are doing such an amazing job, and definitely got to say thank you for this great hospitality, these great rooms, and great service so far. Even the staff and everything. So definitely appreciate that. But next question, talk about the excitement this year. Talk about the notable players that we have playing and everything going into the tournament.
Yeah, it's really just it's almost like an all-star version of the tournament. You've got everything from alumni teams to traditionally successful TBT teams. You've got overseas elite, which won 4 times. We've got Team Hines back in the event, which was a semifinalist last year. You've got guys that people are going to recognize from a names perspective, whether it's, an Aaron Kraft in Ohio State or, somebody that might be playing on a lower level team, say like a 23-24 seed that means something to their fan base from those colleges. So what we try to do every year with TBT is to create and select a field that we think is going to be compelling, that fans want to see. I've always said that that's the first criteria that we look at, is that if people don't want to see the team play, it makes it really hard for us to pick your team ahead of another one. And so, that's really a criteria that we take as seriously as we possibly can.
Definitely good.
Now, talk about, you talked a lot about this year's tournament, but talk about where you see the future of TBT. To all of us and, all of us involved, we see the endless possibilities. And you talked about the $50 million game being the kind of, the end goal. But talk about, where do you see TBT going from here?
Well, I think the first thing is hopefully to get back to a regional format with 64 teams next summer, play in the 8 cities or thereabouts that we were planning on playing in front of fans again. I think we're all looking forward to those days coming back. I think so in the short term, that's kind of the short-term goal. In the longer term, we want to make the event as big as we possibly can. I think that is contingent upon people watching, continuing to get high-level players that play, and really building the footprint that we have. I got a great email yesterday about how many countries are going to air TBT live on ESPN this year. And it blew my mind. It's like, every year the number of countries in which TBT airs, it increases. And this year, I think because it's the first sporting event, really a basketball traditional sport event that's happening in the United States, the attention is going to be through the roof. And so the email I got yesterday from ESPN was like incredible about how many countries we're going to air in. And that's exciting. I think that's going to be great. So in the longer term, it's slow and steady growth. We never tried to start this with the intention of doing it for a year or two and just to have some fun with it. We want to build something that's around when my kids are my age, which is going to be a long time from now. So, we'll see how far that goes,
And last question, besides Team Hines, obviously, what teams are you most looking forward to, see play this year? We have, you have some alumni teams that you already mentioned come back, but then you also have some new teams, some new entries. So what teams are you most excited to see play?
I'm always intrigued by alumni teams, obviously, but I also love the teams like Overseas Elite. And so Overseas Elite's a 4-time champion. They've got a core group of Justin Burrell, DJ Kennedy, and DeAndre Kane. Those guys are back. They've been added by Joe Johnson, Pooh Jeter, who you're going to talk to. I hope, Bobby Brown is back with them. So those teams are all intriguing to me. Anybody that plays hard, to be honest with you, and that really wants to be here is a team that I want to see. And I think we've got a great group of 24 teams. We've got 3 teams, I should say, waiting in the wings in case somebody has to be removed. Those teams are all going to play hard. So anybody that plays hard, plays well is good with me.
Awesome. Yes, you kind of skipped over the protocol. I know we talked about it a little bit, but just like you said, you got 3 teams waiting. For those who don't know, what's kind of the protocol and what situation would those teams have an opportunity to play?
Well, we have a really strict standard in that if somebody tests positive while they're here in Columbus, that the whole team is going to have to be removed. And so, what we did was realize that in order to make that happen, we have to have backup teams. You know, we've got to have teams that are ready to step in at a moment's notice and jump into that seed no matter what. So what we looked for were reliable teams that we knew could get here and would be willing to go through the same thing that everybody else is doing, just in case. And there's no guarantee that those teams signed up without any guarantee that they're going to play. But they did that understanding that there is a chance that they could. And so I'm excited about that, to be honest with you, because just to know that these are guys that want to be here so badly, that they're willing to go through all of the steps that everybody else is doing, all the testing, everything else. And, you know, they're ready to step in. And I hope that it's weird because I don't want there to be teams that test positive and have to be removed. But at the same time, knowing that there's other teams that are willing to take those chances and jump in is really pretty impressive to me.
Definitely. Can you talk a little bit about the testing? I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job of making sure we're safe, the staff is safe and everything. You guys are giving us masks and gloves and hand sanitizer and everything like that. But can you talk a little bit more about the testing?
Yeah, so we kind of did an aggressive testing, and we did a model that we think is going to minimize the chances that someone will test positive once they get in here. What we did is we tested each individual twice at home. Needed proof of a negative test before they could enter our venue. And so the distinction between that and what some of the other entities are trying to do is that they're testing upon arrival, which means that they immediately have to be placed in a quarantine for a much longer period of time if they do test positive. In our case, that quarantine is happening off-site because they've tested twice before they got here. If we do have a positive test, they just don't come. So that is one step that minimizes the risk of someone hopefully testing positive when they get in here. The other thing that we're doing is we're testing you upon arrival. Everybody has a self-quarantine until we get the results of that first test, at which point the teams can then congregate among themselves. They can't interact with other teams. They're not supposed to be, for example, scrimmaging. There's no open runs. It's a pretty regimented schedule that everyone's going to be on. And then beyond that, you know, once a team loses in TBT, they go to a different hotel. They go to a different location, which we think, again, minimizes the risk. So it's really a quarantine within a quarantine within a quarantine, so to speak. And so the more layers of that you have, the higher the likelihood is that you're going to maintain a level of health and safety that we feel is one that hopefully everyone will feel confident with.
Definitely. We're excited, man. We're excited to be here. We're excited to play Sunday. You know, as many times as me and Mo have called you and text you, it's finally here. So we're excited to get it going.
No, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm going to, you know, I would love to hear more about what goes on behind the scenes, you know, especially with teams as they try to organize, because I know it's chaotic from what I get, and I can imagine the amount of effort that you guys are putting in to try to get guys involved and invested and tested and everything else. So, you know, we'll talk about that hopefully over a drink when you guys have won the championship.
Definitely, that's the goal. That's the plan.
Yeah,
man. Well, we appreciate you taking the time. You know, best of luck. You know, with everything. I know like I said, you're going to be hectic. You know, moving around, but I know at the same time you're going to be excited. As a fan, we're all excited. You know, I'm talking to my dad and talking to other people. They already got it. You know, already got it pre-recorded. You know, for Saturday and Sunday. That's how they're going to spend their July 4th watching basketball. So, like I said, I mean, I wish you tons of luck with the tournament, and we'll continue to talk, and you know, during this period.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.